Africa is often described as vast and natural, but that description misses something important. Because scattered across the continent are places that feel wrong at first glance. Too hot, too sharp, too empty, too extreme. And yet, people visit them. Some even return. These aren't myths or inaccessible zones. They exist, and you can stand inside them, where the ground is still breaking apart. Stepping into the Danakil Depression feels like arriving somewhere unfinished. The ground changes color. Streaks of fluorescent yellow, blood-red iron, and toxic green chlorine salts. Sulfur fills the air with the scent of a continuous, planetary-scale match strike. Heat presses down constantly, a dry weight that makes the air shimmer above 50 degrees Celsius, 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Here's what makes it strange. Parts of this region are over 100 meters below sea level, a sinking pit in the Horn of Africa, and among the hottest places on Earth, with an average annual temperature that defies human habitation. Bright yellow pools of sulfuric acid bubble at near boiling points, venting from subterranean magma chambers. Salt flats stretch endlessly, cracked into hexagonal patterns, where afar salt miners cut slabs in a centuries-old tradition under a blinding sun. This isn't a place designed for exploration. Every visit is timed to the brutal rhythm of dawn and late afternoon. Every movement is planned around water, shade, and the knowledge that the ground underfoot is a thin crust over boiling brine. Standing here doesn't feel adventurous. It feels precise. A calculated visit to a live wound in the Earth's crust, where the African continent is tearing itself into three pieces, where the Earth looks engineered. From above, the land suddenly forms a perfect circle, a bullseye visible from space. No mountains, no crater walls. Just shape, a series of concentric, alternating light and dark rings, like a fossilized ripple in stone. This is the Richat Structure, often called the Eye of the Sahara. Here's the shock. It's nearly 50 kilometers wide, large enough to contain a metropolis. And no one fully agrees how it formed, not a meteor strike, but likely the result of a symmetrical geologic uplift eroded flat over eons, exposing layered sedimentary rock in a near-impossible pattern. It looks artificial, a landing pad for giants, a relic of a lost civilization. It isn't. From the ground, it feels empty. A vast, silent plain of black and red pebbles, where the wind is the only sound and the scale of the structure is impossible to grasp. From the sky, it feels intentional. A perfect, unblinking eye staring into the cosmos. That contrast makes it unsettling. A geologic mystery so large you could be lost at its center, unaware you're inside a landmark visible from orbit, where water burns instead of cooling. At first glance, Lake Natron looks calm, a serene pink mirror reflecting the Tanzanian sky. Pink water, stained by salt-loving microorganisms. Still surface, broken only by the slow, deliberate flight of flamingos. Wide open space, bounded by the scarps of the Great Rift Valley. Then you get closer. The lake is highly alkaline, with a pH as high as 12, almost as corrosive as bleach. Hot, fed by geothermally heated springs that push temperatures past 60 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Caustic to most life, a mineral-rich soup of sodium carbonate and trona that preserves the bodies of birds and insects in a ghostly, stone-like state. Here's what makes it strange. This hostile place is one of the most important breeding grounds for flamingos on Earth. Over 2 million lesser flamingos gather here, their scaly legs uniquely adapted to withstand the burn. They build their nests on evaporative salt islands, where the very toxicity of the water protects their chicks from predators. Life doesn't avoid this lake. It depends on it. A stark evolutionary bargain struck in one of the most punishing nurseries on the planet. Beauty here isn't gentle. It's conditional, a vibrant pink bloom of life flourishing on the razor's edge of a chemical death trap. If you're interested in places that feel extreme, but are still part of the real world, subscribe. This channel explores locations that challenge how we define travel, where the ocean leaves nothing behind. Along the Atlantic coast of Namibia, the desert reaches the sea in a collision of giants. No gradual transition, no buffer zone, just the end of the sand and the beginning of the surf. This is the Skeleton Coast. Here's what makes it uncomfortable. Shipwrecks line the shore, rusted carcasses of trawlers and freighters half buried in dunes, stripped clean by sand and salt. Fog reduces visibility to a few meters. A cold, dense brume born from the clash of the icy Benguela current and the desert's scorching air. Nothing stays long. The dunes themselves are migratory, slowly consuming wrecks and bones alike in a landscape of perpetual erasure. This coastline earned its name honestly from the bleached bones of whales and the skeletal remains of ships. And yet, it's visually striking. Empty in a way that feels intentional. A minimalist painting in shades of rust, bone, fog, and deep blue sea. Standing here doesn't feel peaceful. It feels final, like watching the world slowly being scoured clean by wind and water. A terminus with no return ticket, where lava never stops moving. In the eastern part of the Congo, the ground glows at night with a persistent, hellish orange. This is Mount Nyiragongo. Inside the summit crater sits one of the world's largest lava lakes, a churning, spattering cauldron over 200 meters across. Here's the shock. The lava is constantly moving in convection currents, its crust cracking and reforming like the skin of a living creature. Constantly visible, a permanent window into the mantle day and night. Constantly active, with gas jets roaring like industrial furnaces. This isn't a rare eruption. It's ongoing, a persistent, open vein of the planet. The lava here is unusually fluid, capable of flowing at highway speeds when the mountain's flanks rupture. Visiting this place means watching the Earth remain unfinished. The climb passes through rainforest to alpine desert, ending at a crater rim where the heat blisters camera lenses and the air smells of sulfur. You spend the night watching the lake's hypnotic, violent dance, a reminder that the ground beneath global civilization is not entirely solid, where the land can cut you. In western Madagascar, the ground rises into a forest of sharp limestone formations, a maze of knives. Spikes, some over 70 meters tall, homed to a razor's edge by millennia of tropical rain. Narrow paths, only traversable via fixed ropes, ladders, and suspended cable bridges strung over deep, shadowed chasms. No clear routes, only a three-dimensional puzzle of stone. This is Tisingi de Bemaraha. Here's what makes it strange. You don't walk normally here. You climb, balance, and adapt. Every handhold a potential laceration, every step a negotiation with gravity and granite. The landscape isn't decorative. It's defensive, a natural fortress that has isolated unique ecosystems for millions of years. Over 90% of its life, like the Deccan Sifaka lemur, exists nowhere else. From above, it looks like stone needles, an impenetrable gray thicket. From inside, movement becomes deliberate, slow, and hushed. A journey through a cathedral of stone, where light falls in narrow shafts and strange, endemic plants cling to the razor walls. Why these places feel unreal? Most of these locations don't fit travel expectations. They aren't relaxing. They aren't easy. They don't soften themselves or offer comfortable vistas. They exist because geology, climate, and time weren't concerned with comfort. They are expressions of pure process, the slow rip of a continent, the patient dissolve of rock by acidic rain, the relentless push of magma. That's why they feel strange. They weren't shaped for us. We step into them temporarily, on their terms, forced to adapt our pace and perception to their ancient, indifferent rhythms. The discomfort is the point. It strips away the illusion that the natural world is a benign backdrop. It is instead an active, formidable, and awe-inspiring participant. Africa isn't just wide landscapes and wildlife. It's boiling ground where the planet's seams are splitting. Caustic lakes that simultaneously petrify and nurture life. Endless deserts that drown ships in sand and fog. Moving lava that glows with the planet's inner fire. Stone that resists movement with a million sharpened edges. These places don't exist to impress. They exist because the planet allows them to. They are exercises in extremity, lessons in scale and indifference. To witness them is to understand that habitable world is a very narrow slice of a planet that is, in its raw state, overwhelmingly powerful and strange. If this video changed how you think about Africa, subscribe, because some of the most unforgettable places to visit aren't beautiful in a safe way. They're beautiful because they're real, relentless, and profoundly indifferent to our presence. They are the planet, speaking in its native tongue of fire, stone, salt, and time.